Hi there. All right, my name is Lorraine Legier, and I am your tour guide for today. And welcome to beautiful St. John, New Brunswick, and the towns by the bay. We're going to be going on a 3.5 hour tour out to the beautiful fishing village of St. Martin's. And I just wanted to start off with the introduction. Our bus driver, his name is Mario, and Mario is going to, we're in good, safe hands with Mario today. He's a very competent and friendly driver, and he's going to get us safely out to St. Martin's and back to your cruise ship. So I just wanted to bring your attention before we leave a few safety things that we should review. And the first thing is that anytime the bus is in motion, I want you to remain seated, and for your comfort and for your safety. So always remain seated while the bus is in motion. I may have to sit for part of the tour. If there's an area where it's not safe for me to stand and talk to you, I'm going to be seated in my seat as well. Also, at the back of the bus, there is washroom facilities on board the bus today for your comfort. And we have 2 stops near the St. Martin's Village, and we'll be able to use washroom facilities that are very comfortable and certainly physical accessibility is quite comfortable as well. So you won't have any problems with that. Also, please be careful when you exit the bus. We'll be there to assist anyone that needs assistance getting on and off the bus safely. Watch your footing and watch your step getting on and off the bus today. All right, so let's get started. So, like I said, we're on the St. Martin's Express Tour, which is 3.5 hours. So it's going to take us about an hour to get out of St. John and out to the fishing village of St. Martin's. So, but before we do that, I want to tell you a little story, and it has to do with this beautiful terminal where your ship is docked today in St. John Harbor. We're at the Marco Polo terminal, and I want to tell you the story of Marco Polo and how this terminal came to be named the Marco Polo. So back in 1851, the Marco Polo was a wooden clipper ship that was built here in St. John, New Brunswick. And the great age of sail was such a wonderful time, and a lot of men, hardworking men, they put together a great crew to build this beautiful ship, the Marco Polo. So that's why we named the terminal after the Marco Polo. The Marco Polo became quite famous, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And so when the Marco Polo was built, the keel was just as straight as a bead. They wanted the keel to be nice and straight to make that ship go through the ocean. It started off as a cargo ship, so it was built on land, and then the Bay of Fundy, as we know, has the highest tides in the world. So when they launched the Marco Polo, they wanted to launch it when the tides were at their highest. So they waited for the full moon. The date came, and they decided it was time to launch the ship. And so everyone gathered from around town in St. John, and they came down to the Marsh Creek, which is part of our St. John Harbor, and they watched the great launch of the Marco Polo back in 1851. And so when they got there, all of a sudden they had all hands on deck to heave, ho, and pull the Marco Polo off its cradle towards the water. Lo and behold, it capsized onto its side and fell off its crib and stuck in the mud. There's the mud. When the tides go out, there's mud. And so that mud, there it sat. And so all the engineers and those that built the ship were quite concerned. And they said, what are we going to do? I think we've ruined this ship. So anyway, they got the team of people together and decided, let's give it one more try. So they had to upright the ship, but for 2 weeks it stuck in the mud in the Marsh Creek. And it was considered quite an engineering feat to upright that ship back onto its crib or its like berth, and then so they had to wait for the next high tide. So again they said, well, let's give it a try. We'll launch it again. While it was stuck in the mud, the instead of the nice straight bead at the bottom of the ship, it ended up getting this bow. The weight of the ship, it caused a bow, and that bow they figured was going to be kind of the death of the Marco Polo. But lo and behold, they did get it launched, and off it went. It became a cargo ship, and it sailed over to England and back, and it would bring cargo of lumber over to England in Liverpool. And over the first few years as a cargo ship, it was doing quite well. It made it from St. John, New Brunswick to Liverpool in 15 days. It was quite a remarkable speed, and they said, gee, I guess the ship's going to be okay after all. So back in those days, these clipper ships would only last for maybe about 10 years would be the longevity. Well, the Marco Polo went on to sail for 32 years. And so they decided to retrofit it. It was bought by a company in Liverpool, the Black Ball Company, and at that time they converted it into a passenger ship, and it went on to carry 500 people from Liverpool, England, all the way down to Melbourne, Australia. And they went down there for the gold rush. So all these passengers, they wanted the excitement of being into the gold rush of down under. So they traveled all the way to Melbourne, and were able to circumnavigate the globe and come back to Liverpool in under 6 months. It was never heard of before that time. So the Marco Polo became known as the fastest ship in the world. So it was remarkable how it developed this reputation of being a very good ship. So, like I say, it started out as a cargo ship, went on to become a passenger ship for a few years, and then towards the end of its 32 years of work and providing transportation for immigrants and for the gold rush, it eventually was turned back into being a cargo ship again. So at one point it was up towards Quebec, New Brunswick, Quebec, Canada. And when it was in Quebec, Canada, it was sailing in the stormy Atlantic water environment, and it actually came close to our island province of Prince Edward Island. And there's a famous beach there in Prince Edward Island called Cavendish Beach. And so it actually washed up on the beach, and it capsized, and that was the end of the Marco Polo. So at that point, it basically was scrapped for wood, and so that was the end of the Marco Polo. But the important thing at the end of this story of its life was that day that it shipwrecked off the coast of Cavendish, there was a young girl standing on the cliffs, the red mud cliffs of Prince Edward Island, and she decided she wanted to write a little short story about the Marco Polo because she had heard so much about its fame. And so she wrote the story, and her name was Lucy Maud Montgomery. So that's how Lucy Maud Montgomery got her start as a very famous author who wrote The Adventures of Anne of Green Gables. And so she went on to be one of Canada's most beloved storyteller, and she got her start by telling the story of the Marco Polo. So I want to thank you all for listening to my little story. So get yourself comfortable. We're on our way to St. Martin's now, and we're going to have a nice seafood chowder when we get out there and enjoy the sights and scenes of the fishing village in St. Martin's. So I want to thank you for coming on our tour today, and I hope you really enjoy the rest of the day. And we're so glad you picked St. John, New Brunswick to come and share your time with us on your travels. And have a great day, and we wish you all the best in your next port of call. I believe it's in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So thank you again, and have an Aquila amazing day.